Something new. Stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop. Oh, no.
What's going on, guys? Marcus here, back in the shop, and I'm ending the year off with a top 10 favorite hip-hop albums of 2015 list off. So off the back, I know that we're not going to agree with everything that made this list. I do have an honorable mentions that I'll probably put in the description below. I may discuss those albums at the end of this list. And remember, this is my personal opinion as far as what made the top 10. It doesn't mean they were the top 10 best albums ever known to man. Nah, just one guy with an opinion. So I have my list right here, and it was definitely something that was pretty tricky to do because I thought I had, a good list, and it changed over 20 times. So to start the list off, I'm going to start off at number 10, which is Ghostface Killah's 12 Reasons to Die Part 2. Now, Ghost dropped 2 albums this year. The first one was Sour Soul, and the second one was obviously 12 Reasons to Die Part 2. Now, out of the two, I would say that he definitely took his time more. It just had more replay value for 12 Reasons to Die. Sour Soul wasn't a bad album at all. I have no complaints on it. I just feel like the replay value was just lacking. I feel like there was really no creativity when it came to his darts. When it came to just his verses, they were just okay. They just didn't wow me. The production was, crazy. I loved it. It was a compilation album between him and another famous producer. I can't think of his name right now because I didn't go back and listen to it like that. Again, out of the two, I'm just gonna have to pick 12 Reasons to Die because it was well constructed a lot better. Now, that doesn't make it perfect because obviously it's at number 10, so it's last on this list. Like the song Death's Invitation, all the feature artists on that track, I thought they were whack. I thought the flow was off, lyrics are okay, but as an overall, I like the album for what it was. So number 9, if you see me looking down low, I'm actually looking at my list, but number 9 is Pusha T's Darkness Before Dawn. Now, I just dropped this review last week when it came out, so my opinions on this album is pretty much the same. I'm still listening to it for it to grow on me because I feel like it's one of those albums that I'm just not going to enjoy right off the back. I had to listen to it a good 5, 6, 7 times before I dropped that review, which is something that you should do. You should let music grow on you. You shouldn't just play it one time and then review it. I have no complaints on it, so it at least made the list. Now, number 8 that made the list, I already know it's kind of a controversial topic because when this album came out, a lot of people weren't feeling it, and I understand why. But coming from the DMV, I understand this album is pretty much what people go through from day-to-day basis out here, at least. And being that I am in my 20s, I feel like that this album really speaks to me personally. And the album that I'm talking about is Wale's The Album About Nothing. Again, I know a lot of y'all out there gonna be like, yo, the album was trash. What are you talking about? It was just okay, it was decent, it was mediocre. People complain that he's boring, his lyrics are decent, he falls off the beat way too much. That's where I have to disagree, and this is where opinions are just not gonna meet. It even got a 4 out of 10 on Needle Drop's review list, and we all know that Needle Drop is like the king of YouTube reviews. So says Pusha T. I'm a fan and whatnot, but just like anybody else, he's gonna have his own opinion and I'm gonna have mine because this album speaks a lot for my generation. Again, songs, I gave it away. Songs like White Shoes and Matrimony, I can play over and over and over again. Like the video White Shoes that was shot in DC, and that's just something that we go through, a lot of kids go through every day. Like they are trying to impress their peers and trying to get the girls by rocking the latest sneakers, the Jordans, the Foamposites, which are really big out here. Not so much Jordans. I mean Jordans, yeah, but Foamposites have always been a big thing out in the DMV area. So I really appreciate the album as a whole. As far as Matrimony goes, y'all know I have a girlfriend, so I'm 25. I have friends who are getting married, have kids who are married, and that idea does pop in my head from time to time. The thought of getting married at 25. It's not super young, but it's still pretty young. I don't know, man. I just love the album. It really speaks to me. It really, hits home for me. Number 7 is an album that I wish I reviewed, but when it came out, this is when I was knee deep in my midterms and getting ready for my finals with the projects and all that. And that album is Freddie Gibbs Shadow of a Doubt. Now, when this album did come out, I was a little late to the party. Y'all know I try to be really quick on my albums and whatnot, but I didn't actually listen to it till a few days after it dropped. So even if I wanted to review it, I probably have been late to the party. This album is definitely gully, gritty, grimy, dark, emotional. There's really not much I can say about this album. I really wish I could go into deeper detail about it because I did like this album a lot. I am a Freddie Gibbs fan. I feel like each album he's growing as an artist. With that being said, he does have some joints that I do question from time to time. Like, I love the album that he dropped last year with Madlib, Pinata. I thought it was, I don't want to say it was a classic, but it definitely has some classic production because we all know that Madlib is a legendary underground producer, and Freddie Gibbs definitely did his thing. He surprised a lot of listeners out there because a lot of new listeners to Freddie Gibbs music just categorized him as a trap rapper or just a street rapper. But when I got introduced to Freddie Gibbs is when he dropped the song In the Ghetto, which when I first listened to it, first thing I noticed was it was an old Big L instrumental. When I heard that instrumental, I was like, yo, if you want to pick beats like this, I already know you probably know how to rhyme and you know your history on music. So ever since then, I just became a big fan, and I feel like he's growing as an artist. This album is full of singing, and a lot of rappers are trying to do that now, and it just doesn't work for everybody. A lot of people do fail when it comes to singing and harmonizing their choruses. Freddie Gibbs, I would say, is not an exception because he has sung choruses back in the day. He's done some harmonizing, and it wasn't all that. I feel like he's definitely growing and he's getting better at doing it. There's really nothing on this album that I'll take that back. There's one song on this album that I don't like, and that's Cold Ass, and that song was just trash to me. I don't want to say it's trash because I love Freddie Gibbs, but I couldn't get with that song. It was just annoying after the first minute. It was just super repetitive, and yeah. Okay, so this is a bit embarrassing, but in the process of editing my video, I totally forgot to mention Jeezy's Church in These Streets, which is my number 6 on my list. Let me double check. Yeah, number 6 on my list, and I somehow missed it while recording this video. Mind you, I shot this joint at like 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why you'll see a couple little screw-ups and whatnot. But I'm a little embarrassed. I don't know how I missed it. I had the laptop on my lap and I was reading off of the list that was on my lap. I don't know how I missed that. Really bizarre. But I'm kind of lazy to set up the camera. I just turned on my lights and boom. So I'll just talk about it right here real quick. Jeezy's Church in These Streets. I shot that review when it came out, the weekend it came out, and for my longtime subscribers, y'all know that I really did enjoy that album. I am a Jeezy fan. You guys know that. You know that I'm into super lyrical rappers. You know, here's my little album collection, like a little snippet. And we all know that Jeezy is not a lyrical guy. We know that. He has some good wordplay. He's pretty witty. But I really mess with him because of the motivation and the energy that he brings on his tracks. So I'm always excited to hear that Jeezy is dropping a new project. This is definitely not one of Jeezy's best work. Recession is my favorite album from him. Not one of the most lyrical albums, again, but because of the energy and just all the vibes that he brought with this album. You know, Barack Obama being the first black president, just he brings that kind of energy. So it's that motivation I'm looking for. Church in These Streets is somewhat the same. It's super motivational. There's countless tracks on here that I just listen to it and it gets me going through my day. Again, not the most lyrical album out there, but Jeezy is just that guy. So yeah, going on to number 5 now, which is Scarface is Deeply Rooted, and I'm about to get back to this editing. So sorry about this little weird transition. Hopefully it won't happen again. Now, number 5 on this list is Scarface's Deeply Rooted. Now, y'all know I've said this in numerous videos how growing up, I wasn't a big Southern hip-hop fan, not because I didn't like the music. I was just more into East Coast, mainly New York rappers. Big L, Pun, Jay, Nas, Big, you name them, I listen to them. I love their albums, I love their body of work. When it came to Scarface and the Ghetto Boys and all these other Atlanta, Houston, Texas rappers, I don't want to say I wasn't feeling them, I just wasn't really checking for them like that. Now, Scarface did grow on me later in life because I heard him featured in numerous Jay-Z songs and some Tupac songs. So that's when I started to check him out. Now, Deeply Rooted, it's a really good album. Like, I didn't do a review on this, I wish I did. It just drops common sense and knowledge. Like, we know Scarface will talk about the grittiness, the street life, you know, the gangster shit, but he's always backed it up with just what can possibly happen in this dangerous world. So we don't really hear that with our Futures and all these other rappers. You know, they are very entertaining, but they don't really go back and forth as far as what controversies and what, you know, the negative aspects of what comes out of this street life. You know, we got our entertaining rappers, we got our Futures, we got our Migos, we got all these guys who glorify street life, but they don't really talk about the other side, you know, getting arrested, your homies getting killed and all this other mess. You know, you don't really hear too many rappers talk about the bullshit that comes with the street life. Scarface brings that to the table. So I felt like that was kind of a breath of fresh air when it came to street music, especially in 2015. Number 4 is going to be an album that I had a lot of fun reviewing. I did a big project on it. I reviewed the original, and then I did pickup vlogs. So if you are subscribed to my channel, you know we're talking about the Games documentary 2.0, and we're just talking about 2.0. 2.5 did not make the list, and I felt like I'd be cheating if I put both albums out there. I know they're both considered the, you know, documentary part 2, but they are different CDs, and they're chock full of tracks. But I definitely love 2.0 over 2.5. Not to say 2.5 was a bad album. I gave it a decent rating. I just felt like that was more oriented to the West Coast. Nothing wrong with that, but I can't relate all the way. 2.0, loved it. Loved the production, loved the beats. Game is just an ill rapper. If you want more details on how I felt about the album, I'll put the review in the bottom of the description box below. Number 3 is where I might lose some of y'all, because some of y'all either hated this album or loved it, and it's the album of the year. But this album made number 3 for me, and it's Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. I do love this album. I feel like it's probably one of the most unique and unicorn albums of the year. There's really nothing else that's like this. You know, every track is just so different and just so out there. It kind of takes me back to like Tribe Called Quest as far as how just eccentric and different, and I'm trying to think of another word besides different, but for whatever reason it's there at the tip of my tongue, but it's just, I don't know, it's super complex. The only reason why it made the number 3 to me is because after listening to it over and over and over again for about a good month and a half, I felt like I kind of devalued the replay value of the album. It got to the point where I was just like, yo, this joint is just full of mad interludes and not that many songs. I love the album. We're not gonna see eye to eye on it. Either y'all gonna hate it, because I knew people that I go to school with. I've talked to people who thought it was trash. There was no music. There was really nothing that they liked, maybe 2 or 3 tracks. And again, there was other people who thought it was a masterpiece. So I love the album, but it made number 3. Number 2, you're actually gonna be a little surprised on who I picked, because you'll never really hear me talk about this guy as far as how much I love his music. Only time you ever really heard me talk about him is during the whole beef that escalated over the summer. So off that, you already know who it is. We're talking about Drake's If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. This album, I almost forgot about it. It wasn't even on my list when I first made this, you know, this list. It didn't even make the honorable mentions. For whatever reason, I thought it was a mixtape. I knew it was an album, but after coming up with all the albums that came out, for whatever reason in my head it was a mixtape. And then I started going back to Wikipedia and started looking up all the albums that came out and talking to people as far as what should I put out. So a lot of people did say Drake. I was like, oh shit, I forgot about Drake's album. The last time I thought about was that compilation he did with Future. So after going back and listening to it, I was like, that shit is really dope. Like, there's really not one song on it that I didn't like. And at first, he didn't even make the number 2. I had him at number 8. But listening to it over and over again, I was just like, nah, there's nothing on this album that I can really complain about. Other than, you know, it being way too singy-songy. You know, people are gonna say this is, you know, a hip-hop album. This is like a hip-hop fusion, neo-soul type of thing. But yo, Drake is a rapper. I'm gonna put this as a number 2. This is definitely just a dope album. Now, last but not least, the number 1 album of the year, in my opinion, was an album that I've been waiting for years to come out. It may have changed titles, and it may not come with that same familiar sound that I'm used to from this artist slash producer, but I just loved it. The artist slash producer, if you don't know who it is, I don't know what you're doing. We talking about Dr. Dre's Compton. This album, to me, was perfect. If not perfect, damn near perfect. There was no complaints coming from this album. I listened to it all summer when it came out. It had the hype behind the NWA movie that I was waiting for years. I love the movie. I love the album. I'm not even a huge Dr. Dre fan. Like, you don't see him on here, you know. I love Dr. Dre. I loved all 3 albums, but because his music is so years pushed away from each other, I just can't see myself being a #1 Dr. Dre fan. But this album, like, I don't know what to say. Like, if you want to see further details on how I feel about this album, check the review below. Dr. Dre is one of the best producers to have ever lived and touched a keyboard and a drum beat. He may not write his raps, you know, we went back and forth in the comment section, but I have nothing bad to say about this album. And that's it, guys. This is my top 10 favorite hip-hop albums of 2015. So again, I know we're not going to agree on everything that I said. You may think that my #1 should have been a #7, or my #7 should have been a #3, but this is my personal opinion. There's no offense taken. If you don't agree with certain things that I said, let me know in the comment section what you think. Now, as far as my honorable mentions, that doesn't mean that these albums were whack to me. That just means that they either A, have not grown on me yet, or B, the negatives just outweigh the positives. So albums like Travis Scott's Rodeo and Future's DS2, those albums, I'm not gonna say they're bad at all. Travis Scott's Rodeo, it just hasn't grown on me yet. I've listened to it a few times. To me, it's not amazing. It kind of reminds me of Kid Cudi's first album with the narrations. In the first album, they had Common narrating Kid Cudi's whole album or his whole life. Whereas Rodeo, we have T.I. doing the same thing. So it's just really nothing special to me. The lyricism is okay. The production is crazy. It just hasn't grown on me. I really don't know what else to say. As far as DS2, the only reason why I made this list, it has a bunch of different heavy singles. You know, they are dope. They're club anthems. They came out in the summer, so, you know, going to barbecues, everyone's bumping that Future. And in my neighborhood, it was like every other day, every time I stepped out of my building, you was hearing commas or you was hearing something. Like, everyone was bumping Future. So the reason why I made an honorables mentions is just because of the energy that was behind this album. It made a huge impact out here. In that review that I did, I said that I don't think this album is going to have a lot of replay value 10 years down the line. As of right now, it definitely made a huge impact though. So that's why I didn't make the list. Meek Mill's Dreams Worth More Than Money, not bad. Joey Badass Before the Badass wasn't a bad album. I just felt like there was some songs on here I just couldn't listen to. They just thought they were okay. You know, that doesn't take away from his talent. He's a dope artist. He's a dope lyricist. Just some of those songs, just like that one song, Teach Me How to Dance, was just garbage to me. Hot basura. Logic, The Incredible True Story, another guy that you gotta respect his talent. He's just a dope rapper. His flow is phenomenal. He has crazy breath control. My boy, The Gray Ranger, did a crazy awesome job reviewing his album and all his previous work that led up to this album. But for me personally, I feel like he hasn't found himself as an artist. And even though The Incredible True Story is very unique, how it's, you know, constructed as far as it being like so cinematic with them out in space looking for a planet called Paradise, I just felt like his style lacks. Like, he just hasn't found his own lane. I feel like he's trying to be a Kendrick or a J. Cole. That's just my personal opinion, and he's from Maryland, so I'm not really biased when it comes to that. Another one was Ghostface Sour Soul. I mean, compare that one to the one that I had on the list. Sour Soul just wasn't as good. And Lupe Fiasco, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that album. Speaking of Lupe Fiasco, I do owe you guys an apology. I did a video talking about Lupe and I said he was kind of washed out here, or I said he was washed out here. I'm not even gonna excuse myself. I didn't say kind of, I said he was washed. And a lot of y'all were killing me in the comment section talking about that's disrespectful. Go listen to his last album. And I did go listen to it. Well, it's not bad. So I take back what I said. The album was not bad at all. It just didn't make the list. It wasn't all that to me, but it did not suck. And Gunplay's Living Legend. This guy is a talented artist. I just feel like he doesn't have motivation to make great music that can be compiled together to make a masterpiece of an album. Gunplay is dope though. I didn't even know he was a dope lyricist like that. But Living Legend, I did enjoy that album. I do listen to it from time to time, even when I'm in the gym, just because he gives me that pump. But pause on that last thing. I feel like if he's more motivated, he can definitely do some damage out here. So those are my honorable mentions. Again, they are not whack. They're not whack albums. They either just did not grow on me or I just wasn't feeling them like that. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I want to thank you guys personally for riding with me for the last few months. I know I'm kind of new to this channel, and I know I don't pump out videos as much as I should because of school and work and life. But I appreciate you guys for subscribing, checking for me, liking the videos. And if you did like this video and you somewhat agree with my list, I know not all y'all gonna agree with the list, give me a thumbs up and share the video. Let me know what y'all think. You know, tell your friends. Let me know what are their top personal favorite albums of 2015. You know, another thing, I am going to Trinidad and Tobago for vacation tomorrow, so I'm going to put this video out today, but you probably won't hear from me for a few days, if not a week. So that's it, guys. Merry Christmas. I plan on doing a lot better job of pushing out album reviews and movie reviews for next year. So that's it. Hope you guys have a great holiday. Hope you enjoyed the video. I love doing this. Till next time.